Imagine stepping onto your kitchen floor and feeling it give way beneath your feet. Not collapsing, but softening, like the ceramic tiles have turned to warm clay. You press your hand against the bathroom wall and pull it back in shock. The stone is radiating heat from deep inside. No heaters are running. The sun hasn't even risen yet. You walk downstairs into your basement, and the air hits you like opening an oven door. Thick, hot, metallic. Your throat burns after just a few breaths. This isn't a nightmare. This is happening right now in Pozzuoli, a coastal town of 80,000 people living directly on top of the Campi Flegrei supervolcano, just west of Naples. And what's unfolding beneath their homes is something scientists have never seen before in modern history. For months, families in Pozzuoli have been abandoning their main bedrooms. The heat is unbearable. Some sleep in hallways. Others joke about moving into stairwells, but no one is laughing anymore. One man says his dog refuses to lie on the living room floor. Another resident found his son's soccer shoes had left faint imprints in the softened grout near the front door. A local shopkeeper who has run his bakery for 30 years points to a patch of flooring behind the counter. The linoleum has bubbled and warped, despite no leaks, no spills, no explanation. He looks out the window and says quietly, "It's like something is breathing under the ground." He's not wrong. Beneath Pozzuoli, beneath Naples, beneath 3 million people, the Campi Flegrei caldera, a volcanic system 15 kilometers wide, is waking up. Since 2005, the ground has been rising. In the last 2 years, that rise has accelerated to levels that alarm even the most experienced volcanologists. Satellite data shows the surface lifting at a rate 3 times faster than a decade ago. In some areas, the total uplift has now surpassed 1.46 meters. That's nearly 5 feet. So entire docks in Pozzuoli that once met the waterline now stand elevated above the sea, their mooring lines hanging slack in the air. Fishermen can't reach their boats. The port is unusable in places. The land is being physically restructured by forces no one can see, but everyone can feel. And then came the earthquakes. Residents have grown used to tremors, small shakes that rattle windows and knock pictures off walls. But recently, the pattern changed. The quakes became more frequent, more clustered, more intense. Traditional monitoring systems counted roughly 12,000 earthquakes in recent years. That number alone was alarming. But when scientists applied artificial intelligence to decades of seismic records, the truth emerged. The real figure is 54,000 seismic events since 2022. Most are too small to feel, but each one is a fracture, a crack opening in the rock, a pathway being carved from deep below toward the surface. Scientists call these pathways chimneys. They are not metaphorical. They are real conduits, slender channels of fractured rock that link deep, pressurized zones with the world above. And the more chimneys that open, the more heat, gas, and pressure can escape upward. The crust above the magma chamber is no longer a solid lid. It is breaking apart, and what's rising through those cracks is changing the chemistry of the air, the temperature of the ground, and the future of everyone living above. Gas sensors positioned along the caldera's rim are now detecting chemicals that should not be there. Hydrochloric acid, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide. These gases, once trapped kilometers below the surface, are finding new exits through the fractured crust. In some neighborhoods, the smell of sulfur mixes with a sharp metallic tang that stings the nose and throat. Residents wake up with burning eyes, scratchy throats, and headaches that won't go away. The air itself is turning hostile. Metal railings near known vent sites are corroding overnight. Their surfaces are being eaten away by acid-laced air. In places where fumaroles, volcanic steam vents, have always existed, the temperatures are climbing. Sensors at Solfatara, one of the most monitored sites in the caldera, are recording surface temperatures that exceed safe levels for human exposure. Thermal cameras, the kind scientists use to map heat signatures, are now revealing something deeply unsettling. Hotspots are appearing across city streets, sidewalks, and driveways far from any known volcanic vent. The heat is not just rising from old fissures. It is bleeding through urban surfaces in places that were considered safe. One volcanologist from the Osservatorio Vesuviano, the institute responsible for monitoring Campi Flegrei, called these developments the most alarming in the caldera's modern history. He explained that heat from deep underground should not be able to reach homes in this way, not through thick layers of compacted stone and soil. Not so suddenly. Not across entire neighborhoods. The materials themselves, ceramic tiles, concrete, even metal fixtures, are showing signs of thermal stress. They are softening, warping, buckling under temperatures that have no business existing at ground level. But the real concern is not just what's happening. It's why. Soft now. The crust above the magma chamber acts as a seal, a protective lid that traps heat and pressure far below the surface. Under normal conditions, this lid is strong, it holds. But with each new microfracture, that seal weakens. Gases escape upward, releasing pressure from the magma chamber. And when pressure drops, something critical happens. Volcanologists describe this process as depressurization-driven ascent. It is not a theory. It is a well-documented mechanism seen at volcanoes around the world before major eruptions. The more gas that escapes, the lighter the magma becomes. The lighter the magma, the faster it rises. The faster it rises, the more the crust fractures to accommodate it. It is a feedback loop, and once it begins, it is very difficult to stop. In Pozzuoli, the evidence of this process is no longer hidden underground. It is visible in corroded metal, glowing sidewalks, and air quality reports that show spikes in volcanic gases. It is measurable in seismic data that reveals tens of thousands of microfractures opening beneath the city, and it is felt in the heat radiating through floors, walls, and basements across entire districts. The artificial intelligence analysis reveals something even more disturbing. A ring fault, a circular fracture zone encircling the area of maximum uplift. For decades, scientists had suspected such a structure might exist, but it had never been confirmed. The AI, processing seismic signals too faint for human analysts to detect, mapped it with precision. And the location is chilling. Two major faults converge directly beneath Pozzuoli, the same town that was evacuated in the 1980s after months of relentless earthquakes. This ring fault is not just a geological curiosity. It is a weak point. A circular seam in the crust where pressure is most likely to break through. That seismologists reviewing the data warn that an earthquake in the magnitude 5 range is now a real possibility. In a densely populated city built on ancient stone foundations and aging concrete, a quake of this size could trigger cascading failures. Buildings would crack. Pipelines would rupture. Panic would spread faster than emergency services could respond. But the threat is not just from a single large earthquake. It is from what happens next. If the ring fault ruptures, the crust's ability to contain the heat and gas below is permanently compromised. The city of Naples, home to nearly 3 million people when you include the surrounding metro area, sits partially inside this volcanic system. The neighborhoods of Bagnoli, Agnano, and the Western Rim all rest within the caldera's boundaries. These boundaries are invisible in daily life. Tau. There are no warning signs, no fences, no markers. But in geological terms, they are absolute. For residents, the scale of what is at risk is almost impossible to comprehend. This is not a small town on a remote mountainside. This is one of Europe's largest urban centers, built directly on top of a restless supervolcano. City officials continue to use the term bradyseism, ground swelling and settling. A natural cycle, they say. Uncomfortable, but nothing outside the ordinary. The public is told to remain calm, trust the process, and carry on. Bradyseism in earlier decades meant gradual changes, centimeters per year, minor cracks in plaster, not sudden citywide heat pulses, not warped tiles or glowing sidewalks. Not 54,000 earthquakes in 2 years. In the 1980s, Pozzuoli's evacuation was triggered by months of tremors and visible ground uplift. But even then, the ground did not radiate heat through stone and concrete like it does now. The difference is not just scale. It is intensity. It is intensity. It is speed, and it is the convergence of multiple warning signs happening at the same time. Heat, gas, fractures, uplift. Emergency plans exist. Color-coded maps divide the region into yellow and red zones based on proximity to the caldera's center. Evacuation drills have been conducted, but every test reveals the same problem: bottlenecks. Naples was never designed for mass evacuation. Its oldest quarters are a maze of narrow alleys and stone stairways built for everyday life, not for the sudden movement of tens of thousands. In Pozzuoli, suitcases now sit packed by front doors. Families keep go bags ready. A fisherman's bag on a chair, always within reach. Children ask their parents if they will have to leave. The answer is always the same: we don't know, but we are ready. The Italian Civil Protection Authority has raised alert levels twice this year. First in March, then again in June. Each time, the tension grows. Each time, residents wonder if this is the moment everything changes. These are zones where magma or gas could be accumulating. Electrical resistivity surveys confirm that hot fluids are moving upward, carving new pathways through the crust. The caldera is not just rising. It is breaking apart in real time. The instruments are capturing the full extent of the transformation. And for the first time, the data is clear enough to understand what is happening. But understanding does not mean prediction. No one knows when the next phase will begin. No one knows if the fractures will stabilize or accelerate. What is certain is that 3 million people are living on top of a volcanic system showing every sign of escalation. If this information matters to you, hit the subscribe button now, because what happens next will define the future of one of Europe's oldest cities.